Everybody, thank you for watching. It is the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. Again, thank you for watching. And thank you to all of you that left so many wonderful comments in regards to the birth of my granddaughter yesterday. Thank you very much. I love you all. The feature story of the night is NFAC Dead, and if so, who killed it? And we got some news to get to before that. Police action shooting in Austin, Texas today. Police action shooting in Mobile, Alabama today. In Indianapolis, Indiana over the weekend from Friday till Monday morning. 17 people shot and 6 of them dead. A lot of violence, a lot of darkness in our world. And one of the places that is generally looked at for light is Israel. However, at the moment, Israel has some problems, not only with its neighbors, but with the geology below it, as a giant sinkhole has, as you can see, swallows up vehicles in a parking lot at a Jerusalem hospital. This is just the beginning. More vehicles swallowed up. Eventually trees are swallowed up and it becomes, as you can see, a massive and deep sinkhole. So that's what's going on over in Israel. Not exactly a neighbor of Israel, but in the same region. We moved to Iran, and the latest news out of Iran: an explosion.
An explosion and fire was reported at the Zerand Iranian Steel Company in eastern Iran on Saturday evening, the latest in a series of similar incidents across Iran, according to Iranian media. The video reportedly from the scene showed a large flame with what appeared to be an explosion launching debris into the air. Iranian IRNA News reported that a large explosion occurred during the incident. The governor of Zerand told the Iranian news agency that no injuries were caused in the incident and that the incident was under control. The incident was reportedly caused by the sudden overflow of molten material in the blast furnace, with the governor stressing that no explosion occurred. The governor added that firefighters and emergency services were at the scene in order to prevent possible accidents and that more details would be made available later.
Okay, so one of two things here. Either the Iranians are very, very sloppy and they tend to start a lot of fires, or there are sabotage elements or possibly commando elements underway. Why do I monitor this? Why does it matter? While the United States calls for peace in the Middle East, it's really the last thing we want. And what's going on here, in my opinion, is the United States or Israel, whoever's responsible for an attack on the Iranian drone factory, an attack on the factory where the centrifuges were being produced to help with nuclear enrichment, the attack on the oil refinery, the Iranian ship sinking, and now a steel plant. Again, either the Iranians are really sloppy or something's going on. And I think something's going on. And again, while the United States official position is we want peace in the Middle East, and that we're constantly working. We don't want peace in the Middle East. We want chaos in the Middle East so that we can move into the Iranian oil fields and secure them, just like we did the Iraqi oil fields. We'll talk more about that. We're going to have Chris on coming up either later on this week or early next week. And we'll be talking about those things. We want it to look like Iran's the bad guy and Iran has attacked Israel. So all these possible attacks, awfully coincidental. And again, it's in my opinion, it is a provocation trying to make Iran launch a massive attack, so that Iran's the bad guy, because perspective and perception matter. And I'm going to talk about 4 P's along with is NFAC dead, and if so, who killed it? And I'd mentioned I was going to do an episode about Grandmaster Jay, and in fact, coming up, I decided I needed to do it tonight after seeing this last night. I was tipped off to this, and we're just going to listen to a couple of seconds of it. Obviously, you see what platform it's from, and you can go there and listen to the rest of it.
It's either all or nothing. And to you, GMJ, I say this directly to you. Bro, you know I love you. You and I know the conversations, even that have not been even discussed on this platform, that nobody else know about your calling, your anointing, the facts over feelings, all of that. You know those conversations that we've had in brotherly love. So for you to paint any other kind of narrative about me, to disrespect my name and disrespect my labor of service in this organization, I ain't got to tell you, you will have to deal with those judgments on your own. But what I will say this is, the fact that this conversation is being had, the fact that so many people tuned in and got so many opinions and this, that, and the other, you know what that means? According to the way you and I believe, that means the Most High is still working on you. That means there's still an opportunity for you to make things right, but it will cost you. So here's my thing to you, brother. The moment you decide to bare your soul, the people will bare their arms. So until you do that, I'm telling you, what you have amongst you, in fact, USA is dead. Trust me on this one. I bullshit you not. They may not tell you. I'm telling you. In fact, USA is dead.
Thus, the question we're asking is NFAC dead? And if so, who killed it? There are going to be those of you that are adamant that NFAC is not dead. There's going to be those of you that are adamant that NFAC is dead. If you'd like to come on and talk about it, if you haven't been on the show before, you'd like to come on, email me, American Doofus, all one word, AMERICANDUFUS @gmail.com. And we're going to have an episode and discuss this, because this isn't about what I think. This is about giving you things to think about. And there are, if NFAC is in fact dead, as proclaimed, was it Delta and Ozone and the other generals of NFAC that left? Was it the government? Was it the gun clubs leaving? Was it Grandmaster Jay himself? A lot of questions and things to discuss and talk about, because we've been documenting the NFAC and Grandmaster Jay from the beginning. Historic, incredibly historic formation at Stone Mountain, Georgia, calling out white supremacists. And I've said since then, from that time, that the Black community needed an organization like NFAC, because power respects power. And I've said that the formations were not a waste of time, and the formations were done right, and doing them by law was the way to do it, because it wasn't about setting a ground for confrontation. It was about a display of political, if you will, power, that, you know, this can happen. And Stop messing with the people. So it's all your perspective. It's all your perception. I want to talk about 4 P's real quick: perspective, perception, privilege, and poison. And perspective basically is what you as an individual see. You know, it is your point of view. That is your perspective. Perception is what you assume to be true, and sometimes assume to be true without enough information, and a preconceived notion sometimes is our perception. Now, some people think every white person is against all Black people. Okay, there are some people that think that way. In the Black community, there are some people that think every white person is against all Black people. And there are some people in the white community that think every white person is against all Black people. That's why they say, this is news for the people. Well, it's not news for the people, it's news for the fucking white supremacists. And pardon me using the F word. Some people think Black people want to kill all white people. And there are some Black people that do want to kill all white people. That's because of their perception that all white people are bad. Now, you also have to take into consideration that not all Black people are militant to begin with, okay? When there's talking about people coming together for unity and for power, there's more ways to achieve power than just being militant. And I'm not saying that it's not necessary to have groups for defense. It is very necessary, but it's just one lane, and there are so many lanes that need to be filled to push anything forward. And just because our perspectives or our perceptions may not always jive up, as long as they jive up on the most important things: ending all racism, educating people about their, putting a mirror up, showing them their ignorance so maybe they learn from it, and if not, marginalizing them so that they don't come anywhere near power. And then we get a whole nother thing with the people that actually have power, and they will never be touched because they're constantly putting us against each other, in my opinion. So the next thing I want to talk about is privilege, since we're talking about power. And I mentioned privilege, and the first thing most people are going to think, either if you're in the white community or the Black community or the brown community, you're going to think white privilege. No matter what community you're in, you're going to think white privilege, because we hear that term so much. This isn't about white privilege. I want to tell you 2 stories. I watch a lot of videos. People recommend videos. I watch a lot of live stuff because that's where you find out what really happens. I was watching a video, a young Black man, well, younger than me, was doing an interview on his phone and live streaming it with a minister, and the Black minister was in his robes, and it was a decent interview going on, a good conversation. And a Black man in a suit walked up and put his hand up in front of the person doing the interview, in front of the phone, and said, you're going to have to wait a few minutes, and put his arm around the minister and moved the minister away. And the minister was looking back over his shoulder like, this is, hey, this isn't of my doing. And it just that instance made me think Black privilege in the Black community. And it's something that is none of my business because I'm a white guy. But I would really like to see the Black community come together, because I don't know if you can see my shirt or not, but we rise together, you know, EAR, end all racism. It didn't go anywhere. It's just not on the front burner because we live in a country where a lot of white people now have the audacity to say racism doesn't exist, and that includes political leaders, and that's a dangerous situation. But that's one story. Another story, I'm watching an interview of a guest on a show, and the interviewee is just the person conducting the interview is just talking over and won't let the guest express anything fully without cutting them off mid-sentence and demanding that they're right, that the person doing the interview is the only one that has the right opinions, the right attitude, and knows the right things, and can make the right choices and decide who is who and what's what. And I totally respect the person that was being interviewed for maintaining their composure and was incredibly cool. And it showed a lot to me about that person. And is that not just Black privilege being exerted into the Black community or over the Black community? And again, it's something to think about. It's something that I noticed. And I bring this all up because the topic is, if NFAC's dead, is NFAC dead? And if so, who killed it? And I put out, I do this on occasion on another social media platform, in direct message, I put out little polls, if you will, like a 3-question thing. And I put one of these out early today, and I got a good response. And I put out a cross section between communities, between the Black community and the white community. And I put out equal numbers, and I got equal numbers back. I didn't get all of them back, but I did get equal numbers back. And the main question I asked in regard to tonight's episode was, list the 3 people that come, the first 3 people that come to your mind when you hear Black leaders. Okay. This also ties into perception and perspective. The white people that responded overwhelmingly, number 1 was Martin Luther King. Overwhelmingly, number 2 was Jesse Jackson. Number 3 was Candace Owens, followed by Ben Carson. That's who the white people, that's the perception of leadership. Somebody that was killed it was killed 50 years ago. Not quite 50, but close enough. And Jesse Jackson, someone who was active 35, 40 years ago, he's still here, he's still around. And maybe he's still viewed as a leader. He is in the white community. And Candace Owens. And you know what made me, when I heard Candace Owens, the first thing I thought of in Candace Owens was everybody was pushing and targeting, you know, the 3 women in Black Lives Matter and where'd all the money go and all that kind of stuff. Justly or unjustly, it was all happening. And I haven't heard anybody go, where's all Candace Owens' money come from? You know, because she basically is saying what some in the white community want to hear. And does she really believe that? Or is she getting paid enough to do that? It's just something to think about. It's something that something that needs to be discussed, because there are so many things that divide us. There's so many avenues of division that at some point it's going to have to be cut out the small stuff. You know, I got other episodes coming up about hate in general and about allies, and if there are needs for allies or but anyway, it was all triggered by somebody asking me a question. But I want to get back to what I was talking about. I mentioned when I say Black leaders, the first three names that come to people's minds. And there were other names in the white community, sports names primarily. In the Black community, overwhelmingly, it was Grandmaster Jay. GMJ was the first name that came up. And it wasn't even a close second. Dr. Omar Johnson, and then a couple of mentions of the Tulsa Generals. And then there were other single mentions of various individuals, authors and scholars and activists. But it was overwhelmingly Grandmaster Jay. So, is NFAC dead? And if so, who killed it? And we're going to talk about that more in an upcoming episode. And as I said, if you'd like to be part of that, especially if you've never been on the show before, email me at americandoofus@gmail.com and we'll discuss it. And the last P I wanted to talk about was poison. And there are people that just that just express such joy and such excitement and sometimes are almost manic about causing divisions among humanity. Let's be honest, it's humanity we're talking about, or at least in my perspective and from my perception, it's about humanity. It's not black and white. It's not about skin pigment. It's about purity of the heart, and it's about love and unity and coming together in peace. And that's what it's always been about. And anybody's watched that show knows this. But there are those that are poison, that just have to have division and have to do it at any cost. And sometimes, and I'm thinking about Donald Trump because he spoke again this weekend, and he ought to have the good sense just to fade in the background and con golf course owners and con millionaires out of money like he was always doing before, because he's going to lead a bunch of people into an even bigger event than January 6th. And we're going to talk about that coming up too. But it doesn't mean Donald Trump's the only poison person. All right. And if you know somebody's poison, stay away from them and tell everybody to stay away from them. It's what you do with poison. You avoid it at all costs. So just some things to think about. Again, if you have an opinion that you'd like to talk with me about it, the question being, is NFAC dead? And if so, who killed it? You can probably tell from my perspective, I don't think it's dead at all. And I think as long as Grandmaster Jay's around, it's going to be around. There are people that believe in Grandmaster Jay, and it's not just about the guns. So that's perspective, that's perception, and saying that people that follow him are anything other than loyal and want the best for their people is wrong. It's divisive, and it shouldn't be done. So just something to think about. I love you all. Thank you all so much for watching. Went a little longer than anticipated, but I think it was needed, and I hope you do too. And I hope you're still watching. And if so, please like, subscribe, share, and comment if you would. If you want to help support the show and keep us going, $ American Doofus, all one word, AMERICANDUFUS at the Cash App. And we'll be back very soon with another episode of the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. Peace. I love you all. Shalom, salam, namaste, blessings, and a very good night.